News Central Hour this hour begins in northeastern Nigeria, where an explosion believed to be caused by a planted improvised explosive device occurred at the bustling Buni Yadi market in Gudba local government area of Yobe State. According to a local resident, the blast took place around 12:30 p.m. on Friday and resulted in injuries to a young girl. Captain Muhammad Shehu, spokesman for the Sector 2 Joint Task Force Operation Hadin confirmed the incident and reported that another IED found in the market was safely detonated by the army. The injured girl is currently receiving treatment at a local health facility in Buni Yadi. Captain Shehu added that the explosion was caused by a planted IED and was not a suicide bombing. Staying in the region, the Northeast Development Commission has distributed hundreds of prosthetic limbs, crutches and wheelchairs in an effort to improve the lives of people with disabilities in the region. Managing Director of NEDC, Mohammed Alkali, who flagged off the exercise in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, said the initiative was part of efforts to promote inclusivity and empowerment for people living with disabilities. News Central's Umar Karawa completes the reports.
It is a day to smile for these persons living with disabilities who previously faced challenges in mobility in Borno State of Nigeria's northeast. The provision of these mobility aids, according to them, is a long-awaited dream.
Sai dai abokan arziki ne za su tallafa maka saboda kullun kana zo ne guri daya to amma yanzu tunda Allah ya sa ka samu an samu kafan nan to akwai hanya da mutum zai iya zuwa ya dan nemi toro da kobo abu ne zai dan cire gidansa da shi.
Na ga akwai bambancin kafar roba da rashin kafar roba. Allah ya saka da alheri. Na gode a wannan kungiya da ta taimake ni da kafar roba.
Na yi farin ciki sosai. Zan ringa karatu na da shi. Ni kuma na zama kamar kowa, kamar mai kafa biyu.
Na ji daɗi, kafa nan an yanka ina sha wahala. Allah ya taimake ni yau kuma kina ban kafan roba. Gashi na tafiya da kamar wayansu amma bai kai mai kafa biyu ba. Alhamdulillah ni man tafiya da kafa na. Zan je cikin jama'a yanzu na shiga sau ma Allah ya da zan sa sau sai zan saya. Damuna sai kafa da wani ya gani kafa na dama zai baya. Yanzu ba wanda zai kiyama ni.
The insurgency, which has impacted the northeast, led to a significant increase in the number of people living with disabilities.
You can see some of them have been suffering using some local crutches and this and that. We now try to provide modern ones that will make them work as normal persons so that they can do whatever they want to do in life. So that's why we have partnered with the Commission of the Commission so that we can be able to provide what they need. As you heard them saying, we should consult them to tell us what they want. And this is one of the things they wanted, and we provided them today.
Addressing the socio-economic challenges faced by this vulnerable group is said to be among other things that prompted the need to support them.
We have been building houses, schools, clinics, and so on and so forth. And what we can do to improve the life of people in those who can do it. Now that it's in rainy season, we're looking at agriculture so that people can be able to go back to farm. We're looking at security and so on and so forth.
The persons with special needs still look up to the Northeast Development Commission, among other agencies and the privileged, for more support and economic self-sufficiency in the region. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
To updates on the planned and bad governance protest in Nigeria, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, on Friday announced that intelligence has revealed the involvement of foreign mercenaries in the planned nationwide protests. Speaking to journalists in Abuja, Egbetokun urged Nigerians to exercise caution and reconsider joining any protest groups. He said the police are closely monitoring the situation, noting that while some groups are advocating violent protests similar to recent events in Kenya, others are calling for peaceful demonstrations. Egbetokun also confirmed that police have noted the positions of those opposing protests and emphasized the credible intelligence on foreign mercenaries participating in planned protests. In the meantime, the Nigerian Police have pledged to prevent violence during the planned nationwide protest on August 1. In a statement issued on Friday, the police public relations officer Josephine Ade announced that the FCT command has deployed 4,200 officers to ensure the protest remains peaceful. The Commissioner of Police, FCT, emphasized residents' rights to protest, but urged that it be conducted peacefully. Ade added that the command has strategically deployed both material and human resources throughout the nation's capital to ensure public safety, protect protesters, and prevent the protests from being hijacked by non-state actors. Meanwhile, over 60,000 youths from the Arewa Integrity Group for Good Governance in north-central Nigeria have decided not to join the planned nationwide protest on August 1. In a statement from Lafia, Nasarawa State, the group's leader, Joseph Mewada, explained that their decision was to allow the federal government time to address citizens' needs and maintain peace. Mewada also cited appeals from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, as a reason for their withdrawal. He urged other protest organizers to reconsider, highlighting the negative impacts of past protests on citizens and their livelihoods. To discuss this, we are joined by Kash Ononuju, who is a political analyst. Thank you so much, Kash, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So with all the stories flying around about this brewing protest, what's your take on it? It's been scheduled to hold, of course, by August 1.
Well, I will tell you, the protest is not new. Protests have been known to occur in Nigeria. I honestly do not understand the reasons behind the current hysteria. I think there might be something the government knows in its intelligence gathering deductions that it is not yet telling Nigerians. I believe the current hysteria from government is totally uncalled for, unless there is something the government knows that it is not yet sharing with the citizenry. If not, I believe the protests are normal. There is true hardship across Nigeria. The economy is gone into a stagflation mode. The government doesn't seem to get any economic policy correctly. The people are complaining because of what they feel is government's non-action towards their sufferings. In the face of the sufferings, the government seems to have very wrong priorities, like buying luxury cars, bulletproof cars for non-essential issues, and renovating houses, homes, with billions that could be put into better use. So I believe the government should reach out, find who the protest leaders are, and try to talk to them in regards to finding out what it is that the government can do to be able to ameliorate the demands of protesters. Well, I think all these stories of saying foreigners are coming in, those are just stories. They're looking for alibis to be able to go there and stop the peaceful protests. Me and you know historically, it's always government that discovers strategies to infuse violence into peaceful protests. And I think government should stop such panic reactions and allow the process to go on, and then find who the leaders are and start to speak to them, and even start to do reforms that could situate the minds of the protesters. I don't think there's any demand that are totally out of the blue.
Kash, when you look at those who are actually calling for this protest, according to what we know, this protest is faceless. It doesn't have, known faces. People can actually say are the main organizers, and that might be a challenge for the Nigerian government. But then, if you look at it, what are the potential consequences of such a protest, positively or negatively? What would you say might be the eventual outcome, and how might that impact the government's response to citizens' demands? Of course, hoping it will not escalate.
Well, I could share something I believe. The government seems very unsure of itself. I don't know the reason from their calculation why they seem to feel very unsure. In a way, I would say very insecure And I think that is totally out of order. If, as President Tinubu claims, that he won elections, I think going back to the people when they are not happy with you to ask what the problems are is a very logical reaction to when there are discontents. But what I believe seems to be happening, if you ask me, I will tell you that I believe, from what I can see, that the president thinks that those who helped him to power are the ones behind this process. And that's a very dangerous part to take. If those who actually, who are your main supporters, as we say, and are the ones organizing protests against you, as we have seen implosions in the APC from the removal of Mr. Ndume, and also from the crisis you've had with someone like Mr. El-Rufai, those things portend internal crisis in the ruling party. And I think there are lots of ways they can move on to situate people. That's one. Secondly, truly, there is hunger in the land. Truly, there is hardship in Nigeria. How do you deal with it? You don't deal with it by playing, as if what the people are saying is not true. Talk to experts that can deal with intra-party affairs. Experts that will be able to reach all parties.
Okay.
That's what I do. That's what we did in the last election. Go beyond your party and talk to people from other political parties. Sit them down. Don't
and have a dialogue. Have a dialogue
especially
with
if
them.
you understand
Okay.
the circumstances that governed the last election.
All right, so Kaj, now we now see that Arewa Integrity Group for Good Governance said it will be withdrawing from the protest, citing that that the federal government needs time to actually allow its policies to come on board and bear the fruits that are needed. But I'm just wondering, how much time do you think we can give to this government, to this administration? Because that seems to be the gospel from way back when Muhammad Buhari was in power, and it's all about Nigerians need to be patient, patient, patient. Do you think that, there's a need for the Nigerian government to be accorded time to allow the dividends of governance and, of course, its policies to mature and begin to bear fruits that are needed?
If you ask me, I will tell you it is wrong for the government to start organizing faceless mobs. Those are Arewa people, those are just inconsequential group that don't have no regards to the social calculations. What the president should have done is to have run a government of national unity, an inclusive government. If you look at the circumstances of how he came to power, not this triumphant governance that seems to reek of all nepotism. No, run an inclusive government. If truly you didn't get a majority vote before you were declared president, understand the circumstances for such acrobatic arrangements, then run a governance that seems to include the aspirations of the diverse society called Nigeria, not another triumphant, nepotism-driven governance. No, that's not going to work. Either nepotism of the elite, which is also what I would call a hegemony of the elite, or a tribal nepotism. These things are not called for. What you need is, because of the low numbers that brought Tinubu in, is a national diverse governance.
Okay, Kaj, Onabanjo, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. You've spoken well.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We're still on the news, and earlier on we told you that an explosion happened in Buni Yadi in somewhere around the state in Yobe, a local government in Yobe, Goje local government, where one person was said to have died, and of course a couple of people were injured, particularly a young girl was said to have been injured. And now we have someone that will be talking to us about this, and that is Dr. Goje Mohammed, the Executive Secretary, Yobe State Emergency Management Agency. Dr. Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me online.
All right. Now, could you provide a detailed account of the incident at Buni Yadi market, including the extent of the damage to property and infrastructure in that place?
Yeah, there was reported incidents of an improvised explosive device that was detonated in one of the cattle market in Buni Yadi market. Buni Yadi market is a very big market that is known for its livestock market and other grains. And the IED that was exploded affected one young girl. And as I speak to you now, I just left the hospital premises. The young girl has been evacuated under the directive of His Excellency the Governor to the senior specialist hospital, and she's receiving treatment, and she's stable at the moment. And normalcy has returned to the market, and people are doing their businesses. But other IEDs were also found by the military, and they were all successfully detonated outside the market. But no death has been recorded as I speak to you now. The girl is in the hospital, and she's receiving treatment.
Okay, well, let me also find out from you, what aside what the state government has done, let's look at the agency. What were the immediate steps that your agency took upon receiving those who were actually injured to help them get by in terms of treatment? I'd like to find out from you.
Yeah, for this incident, only one person was affected, and that was the young girl, and it was evacuated by our ambulance to the hospital. But then as an agency, we are also increasing our sensitization and advocating to committee members to report any unknown movement to the security, and also to avoid gathering in places where there is suspected explosion of IEDs. But at the moment, it is stable and normalcy has returned to the market, and people are doing their businesses. Of course, it's almost time to close the market because it's 6 o'clock now, and you can see people going out from the market to nearby villages and communities. But the girls in the hospital, which is blood group of positive. We are looking for blood groups, and we have available blood at the blood bank, and already treatment has already commenced, and we are monitoring her situation.
Okay, so I'd like to also find out from you, how are the families also, reeling from this particular situation? We know that this is like an occurrence that no one was expecting to happen in the States. More or less, the fact that it is even a marketplace where we have human traffic, heavy human traffic. People come, buy stuff and go. And one would have expected that, that place would be secured either by the provision of security apparatus by government or maybe the market leaders. So when we have situations like this, it could unstabilize or destabilize people in that area. So how are they coping with such situation that has happened in that area?
Yeah, Buni Yadi is a community that has suffered similar crisis in the past, and people have built resilience over time. All the major precautionary measures, alertness, and being conscious of movement of people, and also alerting securities. These are things that people in Buni Yadi are known of. And today's incident was rather unfortunate, but we thank God that it is limited at this level, and the girl is receiving the best treatment she deserves, and her parents have already been contacted. They are all around with us in the hospital, and hopefully we'll have update on her situation in the next few hours. But then she's stable, and no death has been recorded, and no any other injury has been recorded in that incident. The remaining IEDs that were found, 2 of them were detonated by the military.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Goje Mohammed, Executive Secretary, Yobe State Emergency Management Agency. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
A break will do here on the news. We'll be back in a bit. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. And back to the planned protest stories in Nigeria. We tell you that the President General of the Charismatic Bishops Conference has dissociated the conference from the planned nationwide protest during a visit to the Nigerian Minister of Information. The bishops revealed that they had been approached by some groups to join the protest, but will opt for dialogue instead of proceeding with the planned demonstration. News Central's Joshua Imerai completes the reports.
The Charismatic Bishop Conference of Nigeria, led by its bishop, paid a visit to the Nigerian Minister of Information and National Orientation. During this meeting, the bishop disclosed that they had received invitations from various groups to participate in the upcoming nationwide protest. However, they add that the conference will not be joining the protest.
Recently, we received some calls from some other religious organizations and other organizations asking us to join in a preparation towards a nationwide protest which should start from the 1st of August 2024. Excellency, we are here to let you know that we do not think the same.
The Minister of Information noted that the president is not opposed to peaceful protest, but rather is against violent acts that infringe on citizens' rights.
The government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu believes in the freedom of everyone within the confines of the law to do what he thinks is right for him. Therefore, the president is not an opponent of protest of any kind, but the president is an opponent of violence.
As Nigerians plan to protest against the prevailing economic hardship, starting from August the 1st, the Charismatic Bishops Conference has joined other groups in urging for dialogue as an alternative to the demonstration. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has confirmed its ability to oversee local government elections across the country, contingent upon receiving sufficient funding and resources. This assurance comes in the wake of a recent Supreme Court ruling that secures financial autonomy for local governments. In response, there is growing support for the dissolution of state independent electoral commissions, with many in favor of INEC solely managing polls at the local level. News Central's Idalani Yomoni reports.
In a ruling described as significant judicial intervention, the Supreme Court's decision on the local government autonomy case, issued on July 11, 2024, has sparked ongoing debate.
Call it local government emancipation judgment, because it has really emancipated the local government from, the shackles of the past.
The Supreme Court has spoken, and we have no option than to abide by the Supreme Court ruling.
Some experts argue that this ruling undermines state governments while bolstering the central government. In contrast, governors have welcomed the decision for its clarity and direction.
Compliance is a given, and our attorney generals have applied for the enrollment order, which we'll study carefully. But by and large, governors are happy with the devolution of power in respect to local government autonomy. It relieves the burden on governors.
There are growing concerns about granting the Independent National Electoral Commission the authority to oversee all local elections, as opposed to delegating these responsibility to state commissions. Questions remain regarding INEC's capacity to handle this expanded role.
So it is up to the National Assembly to amend the law to transfer that responsibility to INEC. If that is done, the question is, can INEC cope? Because we have also been saying that we should be unbundled. That is true, but we have never said that we should be unbundled beyond the conduct of electoral activities.
INEC has highlighted the necessity for increased funding to manage off-cycle elections in Edo and Ondo State, as well as any potential local elections.
We, as a commission, cannot submit an appropriation bill to the National Assembly. What we do is to approach the executive, and we have approached the executive. Approval has been given, and we have been assured any moment from now, money will be released for the election activities in Edo, Ondo, as well as the 7 outstanding by-elections.
Although local governments have gained increased autonomy, the process of electing ethical and competent leaders remains contentious. Minister of Finance Wale Edun has also noted that the direct transfer of local funds from the Federation account may encounter practical impediments. In Lagos for News Central, Igbalani Omani.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited website has crashed just minutes after announcing job vacancies for young Nigerians. The announcements made early on Friday on social media directed applicants to the website, which is now inaccessible due to overwhelming traffic. NNPC Limited emphasizes that applications should be submitted only through their official website and cautions against applying through other sites. The company also reminds applicants that there are no fees required for job applications. We will definitely bring you more details as it unfolds as regards this. Away from that, the Northern Youth Frontiers has condemned the House of Representatives' call for the removal of the Managing Director of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Authority. The group accused the lawmakers of self-serving interests, saying they are working to promote the interests of powerful businessmen at the detriment of regulatory agencies in the country.
For the balance, the House of Reps should also thoroughly investigate how, since the era of President Obasanjo, Dangote has been the only investor buying off all the available black oil in Nigerian refinery, shutting out his rivals, thereby manipulating everything. This is our stand. Nigerians deserve better. We will not stand idly while our lawmakers perpetrate injustice and enthrone monopoly.
Now, Nigeria's Minister of Finance has announced that the country has achieved significant milestones in its fiscal management, characterized by a substantial reduction in debt servicing costs and a marked increase in non-oil revenue. This was disclosed during the minister's quarterly press briefing, which assessed the economy's performance in the first half of the year. News Central's Joshua Imarai completes the report.
In attendance were senior officials of the Ministry of Finance and agencies under the ministry. The event, a quarterly ministerial press briefing with the theme Economic Recovery and Growth, Prospect and Progress, was held at the Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters in Abuja. At the briefing, the Minister of Finance announced that the nation had recorded positive developments during the assessment of the economic's 2024 half performance.
Economic activity in the first quarter of 24, as we say, was not only faster than in Q1 2023, but it's the second fastest first quarter growth in the last 6 years. And it was broad-based. The growth is broad-based. Agriculture, industries, services. Non-oil revenue in the first half of 2024 outperformed revenue in the first half of 2023. And not only that, it was 30% above the budget. And it has fallen in dollar terms from $108 billion to $91 billion. Not only that, the government has diligently serviced all its loans and obligations with no recourse to ways and means financing.
The minister stated that the direct payment of monthly allocations to local government areas is pending, as the Supreme Court's ruling has not been officially conveyed to the Attorney General for review and subsequent implementation.
In practical terms, there was a Federal Account Allocation Committee meeting just last week, but it could not yet implement because, in fact, the judgment, the actual proceedings had not been handed down. They were not in the hands of the Attorney General for him to start implementing. So what is going to happen is, under a presidency that believes in the rule of law, the Supreme Court judgment on local governments will be faithfully implemented.
At the end of the briefing, the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy highlighted that the major priority of the government is to crash food prices at all costs, as food inflation constitutes 50% of the inflation basket. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Lagos, Nigeria is a bustling metropolis known for its vibrant culture and economic opportunities. But behind its dynamic facade lies a growing problem that threatens its sustainability: the waste crisis.
Lagos is one of the fastest growing cities in the world, with a population that has more than tripled in the last 3 decades. This rapid urbanization has led to overcrowded urban areas where infrastructure struggles to keep pace with the rising demand for services, including waste management.
The waste generation is a function of the size. If you have the family size of 2, the volume of waste they are going to generate can't be compared with the family size of 6 or thereabout. So with the increase in the number of people in Lagos, so it is not unexpected that the waste we are going to generate we also increase.
We cannot deny the fact that there's a population explosion in Lagos, and a lot of people just come in from everywhere. Now, when they come in from every part of Nigeria with night bus, you are not exactly sure, and you can't account for them. You don't know where they are staying. They just hide in crevices and uncompleted buildings here and there, and then they defecate openly in all of these places. We have the state government particularly has done a lot of things to champion registration, residence registration, so that state can plan for them. When we know where you are, then we can plan for you.
The city's waste management systems have been overwhelmed by the sheer volume of waste generated daily, as piles of uncollected waste become breeding grounds for disease vectors, posing serious health risks to residents, especially in densely populated areas.
The major issue is that there is no way waste will not be generated. But how do you manage it? So the agency in charge and should do more and keep on working. You don't have to relax because waste will be generated per second. So, and then you must also operate per second. If you operate per hour, it means you're going to have the lag behind, and then it will lead to a lot of problems. The ecosystem that you belong to will determine your well-being. Don't forget that recently there was outbreak of cholera in Lagos.
Addressing Lagos's waste crisis requires a multifaceted approach. Investment in modern waste management infrastructure, community engagement in recycling initiatives, and sustainable urban planning are essential steps towards a cleaner, healthier future for all Lagosians. By tackling the root causes, such as overpopulation and inadequate waste management systems, a way can be paved for a more sustainable and resilient Lagos. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Thank you so much, Bettina, for that report. Let's now tell you that Nigerians in South Africa say they're living in fear of police brutality and are calling on the Nigerian government to intervene as police killings of Nigerians in South Africa has intensified over the years. They also urged the South African police to desist from intimidation, high-handedness and unprovoked harassment of Nigerians in the country. The situation has become more rowdy following one Onyedikayi Iroka who was beaten to death allegedly by the police. Meanwhile, the 4 Bucksburg North police officers accused of assaulting and torturing Iroka appeared in Bucksburg Magistrate Court on Tuesday, facing charges of assault with the intent to do grievous bodily harm and defeating the ends of justice. News Central's Wangani Yaba reports.
This is Onyedikayi Iroka, a 44-year-old Nigerian battling for his life. He was severely beaten, tortured and left for dead, allegedly by South African police in 2003. Onyedikayi is one of the fortunate ones. He escaped the savage onslaught, but Callistus Egbetokun, Izowanat, Prince Ebuka, and countless others were not so lucky. Today, Onyedikayi is back in court to face his attackers. Determined to see justice served, he narrated his almost to death ordeal. He says he's living in fear as he always gets threats.
So now they called the cell guard to open the doors. They want to lock me up. So the cell guard watched me and see that there was a pool of blood everywhere. You see, now he said, God forbid, he couldn't lock me up. He told them to call the ambulance and take me to the hospital before I could be locked up. So now they are confused. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to take me. They don't know how to put me inside. They don't know what to do. So they keep making, some meetings and all that. I don't know what they are saying. Now, after some time, now they take me to the hospital. So I don't know what happened. I woke up after 9 days because I was in coma. I was in another side of the world.
Like his fellow countrymen in South Africa, they say they are living in fear of police brutality and are tired of being targeted and treated unfairly.
It's not the first person, it's not the second person. It's been happening. Even in Jamestown, where I stay, more than 4 people are dead by gun.
Sometimes police intimidation and brutality, beating up of Nigerians and all whatnot. That is my experience so far.
Here in Boksburg North, I met with Prince Chika, a Nigerian national living in South Africa, who is also a victim of police brutality.
I've been arrested
5 times or 4 times for illegal immigrant. The same person charging me for the same offense. I even went to High Court, get some documents from the High Court, and still come back, and they still put me inside. There was a time, the last one that happened, I was driving with my 9-year-old and my 6-year-old sons, and they took us to the police station. They kept my sons on the code from 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. in the afternoon to like 1 a.m. at night, because I stay with my boys and nobody was around to pick them up. I tried to convince the lady that, listen, I've been charged with this and I went to court, and this is my documents from the High Court that I've been to, and this is even the immigration lawyer tried to talk to her, but they didn't want to listen. They just put me inside, and I stayed there for 7 days.
But despite efforts by individuals like Prince to speak out against police brutality, Nigerians here say authorities and the Nigerian government representatives in South Africa must do more.
Calling Nigerian government to come and help us, to hear our voice.
The government to look into it and come to our aid to help us to find justice against us Nigerians.
Because, you know, most times when you reach out to Nigerian consulate, they just take it as water under the bridge. They don't come out. So it discourages a lot of people. But I think recently, Nigerian consulate has been trying. They've been trying very much, especially when it comes to this case of attempted murder of this Okoro guy. They came out. We were even surprised.
Attempts by News Central to speak to Nigerian consulate representatives who were present in court was fruitless, as they refused to comment on the issue. Years now, similar incidents have been reported involving police violence. President General of Nigerian Citizens Association in South Africa, Mr. Frank Onyekulu, is calling for investigations and justice in the broader issue of police abuse in South Africa.
2 or 3 occasions I've engaged with the South African police to understand why and how such deaths occurred within their premises or in their hands. I can be very precise about 3 particular deaths happened while our citizen is in the hands of the police.
Police brutality against Nigerians in South Africa has become a big concern, and Nigerians in this community are calling on their government to come and help them. From Boksburg, for News Central, Wangani Siziba.
Mangane, thank you so much for that report. It's quite touching, I must say. We now take you to West Africa, where Senegal's Navy has intercepted a boat carrying 200 irregular migrants near St. Louis just days after a tragic incident off the coast of Mauritania. On Monday, at least 25 people died when a vessel capsized near Nouakchott. Earlier this month, nearly 90 people lost their lives when a boat carrying 170 individuals sank off the Mauritanian coast. Despite warnings from the Senegalese Prime Minister about the dangers of these perilous journeys, the route remains popular as surveillance in the Mediterranean increases. According to the Spanish NGO Caminando Fronteras, over 5,000 people have died attempting to reach Spain by sea in the first 5 months of this year, marking the highest daily average toll on record. The Senegalese army has reported a series of interceptions in recent months, underscoring the ongoing crisis of dangerous migration attempts. And for the first time ever, these Olympics will be the first games to achieve full gender parity with the same number of male and female athletes competing. This is a huge achievement for women's sports. Sports play a crucial role in girls' development, offering far more than just physical benefits. By encouraging girls in sports, the organizers say they are not just promoting fitness, but also empowering the next generation of strong, capable women. News Central's Afia Hagen has been looking at grassroots organizations in London who work hard to keep girls playing sports.
As the 2024 Olympics kicks off in Paris, here in London, we remember the 2012 Olympics and the sporting legacy we hoped it would bring for young people in the capital. Unfortunately, the London 2012 Olympics and Paralympic Games did not boost participation in sports, as was hoped for at the time. But grassroots organisations have picked up where the Olympics dropped the ball, particularly boosting participation for girls in sport.
Greenhouse on 3. 1, 2, 3, Greenhouse!
Greenhouse Sports is one such organisation working to make sport accessible for girls.
So for us, our focus is our step structure, which is around social thinking, emotional and physical, and giving them skills within those four sections to really take on in life.
Sport plays a vital role in the overall development of girls, building strength, endurance and flexibility, leading to a healthy and active lifestyle. Sport also contributes to the social development of girls. It provides opportunities for making new friends and building strong relationships. They learn to respect diversity, develop empathy, and enhance their social skills. Furthermore, sports provides a platform for girls to engage with their community and learn important life skills like discipline, time management, and perseverance. But keeping girls playing sport can be difficult. In the UK, studies show that 21% of girls, compared to 39% of boys, say that they do lots of sport and activity. 17% more girls than boys say they love sport, but lack the opportunity to play. Stubborn inequalities, ongoing stereotyping, and practical barriers to participation for girls remain.
Every single time, even if they don't come into sessions, just keep them involved, talk to them, how is it going, why they're not showing up. Or like I said, they can referee some games if they don't want to play. Just keep them involved every single time.
These girls already love being part of a team.
I really like basketball because I feel like it pushes me to be the best I can, and I feel like it's a part of me and I can use it, and it makes me happy.
I like basketball because it allows me to express myself in like ways I didn't know I could, and it seems like I found like a family here. And yeah, it's a very nice community, isn't it, girls? Yeah.
Encouraging girls to participate in sports from a young age can have long-lasting positive effects on their health and personal growth. If they are skilled and dedicated enough, it can also be a viable career path. And you never know, your daughter, niece, sister or friend might just turn out to be a young Olympian. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
Let's talk business now. In Nigeria, the country is currently facing a severe malnutrition crisis exacerbated by soaring food inflation and skyrocketing street prices of essential commodities. This has led to a substantial rise in cases of severe malnutrition, with an estimated increase of over 100% in the last 5 months alone. In response, the Nigerian government has implemented various measures, including the suspension of import duties on certain food items and the distribution of grains and fertilizers. However, some argue that these measures are insufficient and suggest that opening up the borders for massive food imports could help reduce food prices, although this might impact the local currency and trade deficit. Mariam Yunusa Yakubu, an analyst from Chapel Hill, Denham, shared a perspective on this matter during a guest appearance on the Business Edge show.
When it comes to these measures that the government has put in place, especially the removal of import duties for some of the food items, what this is going to do is sort of remove or sort of lift the pressure from importers of food into the country. And this will allow them to bring more food into the country, and they will be able to compete with sort of the local producers in the market, therefore sort of reducing the prices of food in the market. However, when you look at it from, the currency perspective, what we tend to see now is there will be more.
In sports, the Confederation of African Football has appointed Mozambican officials to take charge of the game between Super Sand Eagles and their counterparts from Mauritania. Both sides will clash in Kaduna on Saturday, August 27, in a return leg fixture to grab tickets to this year's Beach Soccer Africa Cup of Nations. Dick Salvador Musanga has been appointed as the referee, with his compatriots Angelo Almeida Ngueha and Jonas Chichota as assistant referees 1 and 2. Meanwhile, Angolan Eliano Domingos Tito Lacala was appointed as the timekeeper, while Adaberto Luis Fonseca Katambi from Sao Tome and Principe will serve as match commissioner. The second leg of the Nigeria-Mauritania fixture will take place at the Beach Soccer Arena inside the Murtala Mohammed Square, Kaduna, and the game is set to kick off at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And that's all at this hour on the news, but before we go, we'll take a look at some of our top stories. Improvised explosive device injures many in Buni Yadi market in Yobe State. Police confirm involvement of foreign mercenaries in planned nationwide protests. We also told you that Senegalese Navy intercepts 200 migrants near St. Louis. You can send your eyewitness reporter WhatsApp number and email on your screen. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV and watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.